Well, hello guys, welcome back. So I want to thank you guys. You guys were super sweet in the community tab. You guys really were. And basically, one of the things I truly honestly forget is I just have too much of the old man in me and too much of Loki in me to not do as they do at this point. Basically, I went after knowledge with the relentless determination that Odin instills in his people, and you just get that information any way possible. But don't be unethical. And so I was going after information relentlessly the last couple of years, and you hoover it all up, good, bad, and indifferent. You try to sort through it, and Loki will tear things apart. Loki will tear everything apart and then hand you all the pieces and see if you can put it back together. And I got, yeah, back here. And we tore a lot of stuff apart to the point where we have so many things we tore apart, we can't tell what piece goes to what anymore. And we're just kind of looking at it kind of confused. And, it's kind of why I will work with other, pantheons for a while and then we won't work out because the Odin's person kicks in and I have to relentlessly go down every single rabbit hole I find and find every bit of information. And of course, most of it's going to contradict itself. That's just the nature of information. And I got, yeah. And, the Loki's person will drag out all this information out of all those rabbit holes and then just go, and tear it all apart. And then you're left with nothing at all. And you go, oh. And Loki's like, yeah, I know the feeling. And Loki is one of the gods that's like, you have to know who you are. You have to know who you take after. And sometimes I truly forget that I take after Loki and I take after the old man and I approach things the way they do. I like to think, nah, I'm not like them at all. And I'm going to go into this field of study and I'm going to be the way I am. And then I'm chasing down every bit of data and I'm tearing things apart with wild glee. And then in the end, it's all broken and the gods won't work with me anymore. And I'm looking at it on the ground like, well, that didn't work out too well. The Norse gods are the only gods I found that are accepting of that. You can take the lore and you can tear it into little bits and go, this is the stupidest thing I ever read, and have a ticker tape parade, and they'll just watch the pieces float down. It's really hard to offend them as a group, actually, believe it or not. It's really hard to offend them. You can tell, once you've worked with them for a while, you will be free to tell them what you think. And as mad as I've made Odin at times, and as horrible as the things I've said to him, he's never, lashed out over stuff like that. He's like, I can see why you came to that conclusion. He can turn interesting colors when I talk to him, but usually he's like, he respects people being forthright and going to the conclusion they reach. He is more, no, he's the Allfather. You could argue he's everything, but he's more the one that will reach an emotional conclusion at times. Though there are times that if you hit one of the sides that's cold as ice and you're trying to explain your emotional reaction to the data you got, then that's not going to work. He'll want you to methodically and mercilessly work through it. And over the last couple of days, we've been cheering. There's that song about the warrior song about kill with a heart as cold as ice, and that's kind of the. Not, and it's not meant to be scary. It's meant to celebrate people that are warriors and go to war. But that's kind of like the mindset some Odin's people get in when they're going for information that there's going to be blood, and there's going to be a lot of bloodshed here, and this is just collateral damage that's going to happen, and we accept it because it's like we know this is going to get messy, and Odin accepts it too because research can get very messy, and there can be a lot of hurt people and a lot of communities that hate you. And I wasn't engaging these communities either, but you learn, when you do that. It's why academics go at each other and they go for the throat because, you're very passionate and you're very driven, and there will be blood. There will be so much blood. And, for Loki, he has that tendency that he has as a god to tear things apart anyhow, to wait until everything is perfect for you and you're sitting in this comfy little paradigm, and then he will push you a little bit towards some research and you will find something that destroys your paradigm and you're starting all over. And he's done this again and again and again and again as we've tried to work with the demons, which you see as old gods. And he knows all my weaknesses. Like Odin knows all my weaknesses. Like if there's not some general consensus out there, if there's not with demonology, I've studied it for years now. I still can't find a baseline to start from because it's like trying to find a baseline, trying to build a castle of dry sand. It's not going to work. And I'm like, every time I think I have a baseline, one of these people goes in a direction that doesn't exist in physics, and I can't tell you what to do. And they're like, exactly, exactly. And there's like 5 million flavors out there. There really are. And then there's like all this different stuff. And then you got these people that are fronting, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm working with so and so, and I'm mega rich and everything." And they appear on YouTube, and like they're not quite working off the top of a cardboard box for a table, but you know what I mean. You're like, you don't look as rich as you say you are in your blogs. Unless you're hiding it really well, you don't look anywhere near as rich and wealthy and powerful as you claim to be. It's not like rich people doing it to be ironic and for funsies because they've never been exposed to cardboard tables before. It's an adventure, it's not like that. It's like that's like where they are, and it's like, okay. And it's just tearing stuff apart. It's the nature of the beast. If you work with Loki, if you work with Odin, you're gonna lose a lot of friendships that way. And we lost a bunch of people because, if you don't work with Loki and Odin, you don't recognize that. The Lokeans and Odin's people are going to be, and that's just terms for people that work with them. There's people out there that will say you have to earn it. You can't earn it. You either work with them or you don't, and you could argue that there are certain things that make you more of something, but it's not like an actual checklist. You just know you're an Odin's person because you get that attitude. And same thing for Lokeans. We all have different personalities and everything, but at the end of the day, there's something that would link us all. I got very good back here, and that's the Lokean person in me. I have to stop and I have to tear everything apart and I have to look under the hood and there will be parts missing when I put stuff back together, but that's who I am. And that's the Odin's person in me as well, that we have to tear all this apart and we have to look at all of it. And if we just decide not to work with it, we're just going to walk away. No power on earth or anywhere else is going to make us go back to working with it. Um, I did try working with the demons, as I see them as old gods, a little last night. And it's just like I told them I really don't care so much what other people are teaching, because as I did more research last night, um, you do have to do your own thing. And you do after a while have to go, well, I might be the only person in the world doing this and I have to deal with that. But it's kind of hard when you have a researcher bent in you to do that because you always want to go do research. I will never be done learning. And that's the hard part. And that's the part where you can sometimes take pretty heavy psychic damage because we did the Book of Tobit. Somebody made it into a video game. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned that this time. And that was Loki was kind of just watching because it had been Asmodeus's idea, and it proves, a lot of things about Asmodeus not having foresight on it, I guess. And yeah, he's in that book, but it doesn't end well for him. And the game itself, you wander through these woods, and they're beautiful, and there's lazy 90s Christian guitar playing in the background, and it sounded like biblical tapes I remember listening to. It was great at first. It was. It was great at first. It was because it doesn't start out heavy. Bible stories never do. And it was even, you could say it was okay fiction. There were like a ton of gaps. Like, how did this character know about what that character was doing? How does everybody know what everybody else is doing? Because there's just too many gaps. They're not saying like, oh yeah, I know what they were doing because word was sent to me or something. Something. It's just people just know. Like everybody has like a God perspective of all the characters. People said that it's a fictional work. Some people say it's a real work. Some people there are people that work with Asmodeus that base some of their work with Asmodeus off of it. And if you ask Asmodeus, sometimes he'll be like, yeah, it absolutely happened, Sarah, and everything else. And there will be people like, yeah, it absolutely happened, but the real story is Asmodeus was triumphant and everything else. And I've read that interpretation too. But, it's one of those things that if you can pull that apart, if you can pull it apart and say it's a work of fiction, then is everything a work of fiction? If everything's a work of fiction, then you have to start all over again and go, well, are these all just fictional characters or are they actual beings you can work with? And we tear down to that level on a regular basis around here. We just usually don't tell you guys. And, it was Asmodeus's first exposure to me tearing something apart like that, even though he's known me for years. And I don't think that they very I'm getting yells of sport beggar. I don't think they very much liked it. I don't think the demons as a whole liked it. And I said, honestly, sometimes I don't even believe in them at all because all the stuff we're doing and all the research we do. And yeah, I have belief and yet I have unbelief too. I'm a human being. There's no way Loki and I had a wonderful conversation. There's no way Loki can prove he's Loki. Honestly. People will ask me how to know if they're working with Loki or a certain another entity. I said, well, for one, you can sage or incense or bless however you do, and if it's something that has negative intent, it's going to drive it away from you. But other than that, if you saged and blessed and Loki's there and he's saying he's Loki, you after a while you just have to take it on faith that it is Loki. You can't, grab onto a god, pull them into the physical, and look at them and go, "Yep, that's definitely Loki," and let them go again. I go, "Yeah." You just can't do that. It's the same thing. I work with Odin. I take it on faith that's the old man. I take it on faith that I work with the Norse gods. I take it on faith that these beings that people now call demons came into my life and wanted to work with me, and they're awful stubborn and clingy about it. But I have to take all that on faith. How do I know Asmodeus is Asmodeus? I don't. And there's a lot of people out there that will feed on that. You should, at times admit you can't prove stuff, it keeps you real, it keeps you on an even kill. There are a lot of people out there that will feed on that. And because they have their own personal agenda, they'll say, well, because I don't like this and this wicks me out, I'm going to say that if X, you're doing that with X, Y, and Z, you're not really working with them. And that doesn't help from an academic standpoint. It doesn't help from a research standpoint or relationship standpoint. And there are just way too many people out there running around like loose cannons that they're not trying to do research. They're not trying to do build up knowledge. They're just trying to get their version of whatever out there and force everyone else to live by it. So it's not helpful to the conversation. And obviously what Asmodeus is known for. So for people coming up with this new version of him, it's interesting. But I've seen them do it with Dionysus too. Have they seen his temples? And they do it with Hermes too, and I'm like, you know what he's the god of, right? And have you seen a Hern? Do you know what it's supposed to be? And you have to be at this mega level of innocence to be able to look at these old pictures of these temples, like for Dionysus and that, and go, yep, that god's a virgin. It has to be an ultimate almost put on innocence. And it's, there's nothing wrong if that's how you really operate. Some people are naturally asexual, some people are naturally whatever. But, to try to go back and rewrite history because you're not comfortable with that aspect of yourself or the gods, that doesn't do any moral good in the community either. I mean, you can do it for yourself, fine. Just don't try to, enforce it with other people. So, I don't know if we're going to end up working with the demons full time because I love to tear stuff apart. I love my horror games. Odin's all about let me play all the horror games I want. Asmodeus doesn't like them, and the love of horror might just win me back to the old man's side. And I said, there's too many people fronting in demonology that are like, yeah, I got X, Y, and Z, and if only you drew the sigil and did the secret thing I will teach you, you would get X, Y, and Z too. And I'm like, I just don't have time for this. I mean, to me, I haven't gotten any better results than I did with any other group of gods. Like I did get Face Your Demons for free. I'd had my eye on that for years and just I never wanted to spend the money. No, it's free. I got that. And I got the Book of Tobit for free, which damaged my mind, but you know, and I tried to be nice in the review, but I said, you know, it's kind of has this creepy incel vibe that like a woman is owed to these guys. And I said, well, thank you for reminding me, you know, seriously, thank you for reminding me of why I left Christianity. And I said, you know, I wish I could have gave it a thumbs up because it was a beautiful thing and the music was nice. But I said the part in there about all other nations being sinful and all other religions being bad and evil, I said I can't let that pass. I got a thumbs down this one. I thought our intent going in was let's show the atheist how to have forbearance, and I'm like, no, no, I'm more towards the atheist side of things. So we hope you guys enjoyed that. I don't know if I told you this time, but we have the lights off because, well, we have some lights on, but the main light's off because it's going to be in the 90s today. So we're going to be going through a heat wave. So if you see a bunch of videos where the lighting's down, that's why. So if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.